So, LeBron James and Kyrie Irving, at the end of the previous year, get into a little kerfluffle because in the draft before this season, Kyrie was in heavy trade talks to go to Indiana for Paul George. That is what set this chain reaction off. Also, David Griffin was fired, and Kobe Altman will be the new general manager overseeing Kyrie Irving, basically being like, I want out. You guys tried to get rid of me. That's not how this works. Now I want fucking out.
Yeah. But and wasn't there like starting to be talks about LeBron possibly leaving to LA
At the end of
after
the finals,
Yeah.
the big rumor coming out of the finals was, is this next season LeBron's last year? Could he really leave again? Could he really leave again? And so when you combine Kyrie Irving already being talked about in trade talks, right? And you combine the LeBron news.
Yeah.
Kyrie was like, I am beating this shit to the punch. You are not leaving me with the fucking bag.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Because LeBron previously had left Miami and they were fucked.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, they were like 8th in the East or something the next year.
Yeah, but not only that, there was
cap issues. Huh?
Think about the time LeBron left Cleveland the first time.
Yeah, that
It was
too.
worse than that.
Yeah. And then this is worse because they were over the salary cap already. You got a bunch of people getting, like Tristan Thompson was making like millions of dollars when he didn't.
LeBron leaving Cleveland is how Cleveland got Kyrie.
Yeah, exactly.
Because they suck. But Kyrie there was a bunch of different destinations, and then Boston decided to give a total haul, including Isaiah Thomas, one of the picks from the infamous Brooklyn trade that flipped the Celtics' fortunes around in the first place and allowed them to rebuild so quickly.
Mm-hmm.
Gordon Hayward had a previous relationship with Brad Stevens, so he had signed through free agency.
Yeah. And
now you have Kyrie Irving as a Boston Celtic, and Isaiah Thomas is now with LeBron James. Yeah. LeBron would go on to say that he tried to stop this. He tried to stop this from happening.
Yeah.
You think he tried to stop it from happening or no?
Oh, I 100% think it. I think him trying to stop this from happening and it's still happening is the reason he completely left. I think because that losing that control, because he had a good amount of control over that organization.
Yeah,
especially start from the very beginning, from the moment he got there. And I think once he started to see that I think the moment they stopped doing everything possible to keep him relevant and winning, he was just like, screw this. This is back to what it was in 2009 or whatever, and I'm not about to do this again and screw my career. And that's the whole reason he was signing the 1-and-1s.
Do you think he would have finished his career in Cleveland as long as he had Kyrie there?
I honestly don't. I think once he would have saw that they didn't have chances to win, he was leaving. And I think that's been his MO throughout his career so far. He didn't have a chance to win the first time in Cleveland. He left. He saw that the Miami, there was no more chances. There was not really much that he could do to keep winning, and he left. Even though there's other backstories behind that, I think that was like the major reason, though. And then Cleveland, he did the same. Like, you can't keep having the same pattern and it not be right. You know, it has to be at least a part of it because it happened throughout his whole career. Right. But the funny part, now being into the future and seeing what Boston is, seeing that both of those two guys signed and they're no longer with the organization, that's just pretty funny to me. Gordon Hayward and Kyrie. That was such a big deal. And then like 4 years later, it's like they're not even here.
Yeah. But so LeBron is basically on his own for the beginning of this season because Isaiah Thomas, as we talked about, had the hip injury that he suffered. Yeah. Right? He had the hip injury, and that forced LeBron. It was basically LeBron and Kevin Love, but as we've seen, Kevin Love isn't the guy that he was supposed to be coming out of Minnesota.
Yeah.
Now he's really not that guy. And also, in hindsight, he's probably dealing with a lot of mental stuff that he wasn't talking about.
Yeah.
Not to hold that against him, but I'm sure it didn't help his play, obviously. But I distinctly remember the period of time before the trade deadline with LeBron, because he was constantly just being a petulant child with the roster. They lose to the Orlando Magic right before the trade deadline by 18 points. LeBron is in. They lose to Houston by 32 points.
Yep.
But I remember distinctly in Orlando, and I'm hoping that I can get the clip up, and it'll be on your screen if I can get it. LeBron, several times in that game, let the Cavs play 4 and 5 on offense because he was so frustrated with Isaiah Thomas, who had just come back in February, right?
Yep.
And thought that he was as good or better than Kyrie Irving.
Yeah.
You remember that?
Yeah. So he would go into like, you know, like after the games when they had like the little interviews and stuff, and they would talk about like, oh, how was, like, they talked about specific things in the game, or like what's good, different about this team or whatever. Like Isaiah would be standing right next to LeBron, like if he was like the D Wade or the Kyrie kind of guy.
Yeah.
He was just he thought that he was on his level, and he like even things that he would say, like, you know, like when we have to like when one of us has to take the last second shot or something like that. Like he would say shit like that, and it was just like, bro, do you not have like any type of like self-awareness, like on like what level you're actually on in this in the NBA? Like,
to be fair, you got to think that way when you're in his position, no? You got to think like you're one of the best players.
But like you have to know, like, so what's one of the biggest things that we've talked about throughout all of these like championship teams? All of these guys know their roles.
Yeah, that's true.
But for you to think that that's your role, and it's clearly not, like you're not going to be one of the guys that we think is going to take the last second shot over LeBron.
Like, you want your role players to know their role and not have like delusions of grandeur.
Yeah, exactly. Like, so him doing that is just makes you know, like, all right, this is not going to work.
Yeah. So, like I said, versus the Magic, right? In Orlando, they lose by 18. LeBron's letting them play 4 on 5. He's just fed up with Isaiah Thomas. Quotes come out saying, "We need a fucking playmaker," right? LeBron just looks totally defeated. That leads to LeBron versus Minnesota.
Yeah. So, and this is like adding to the Kyrie leaving stuff. Like, you look at how LeBron's going to the media, to like keep pushing his narrative or like force, like, because he's kind of forcing the team through the media. You know what I mean? Like he's using it as his tool, really. Yeah. And that was like what was very stressful for Kyrie, I think. And then obviously we know that it was very stressful for Kevin Love as well.
And yeah, that's very true. But I think before this game, LeBron found out that they were going to make moves at the deadline and they were going to get a trade situation to happen, because he comes out in a completely different mode than he did in the previous game, in the previous few games. He came out inspired. He came out quick, attacking the basket, shit like that.
Yep.
He finishes this game versus a Minnesota team that was coached by Tom Thibodeau, was becoming like a modified version of the Bulls team that had given LeBron problems in years past.
Yeah.
Right. And he comes out and he blocks Jimmy Butler, which I'm going to get to.
I remember this game.
He must have known. He definitely knew about the trades before they happened, I think.
Yeah, I mean, he was controlling most of this shit. So
the next day after this, they trade Isaiah Thomas. They trade Dwayne Wade, who was on this team. They traded.
Yeah.
Like,
did Wade go back? Wade went back to Miami, right?
there's the buzzer beater. Bang. Yeah, they traded him for like a second round pick.
Yeah.
Look how he doesn't even acknowledge Isaiah Thomas. Lets Isaiah Thomas walk right by him. It's one of the funniest videos. But they traded Isaiah for, what did they get for him? He went to the Lakers. He went to your team for Clarkson, Larry Nance Jr.
Yeah.
A couple of those pieces.
I think he also got what's his dude's name? He's a lefty.
Rodney Hood.
Yep, Rodney Hood.
Yeah, Rodney Hood.
Because I remember he had like he was supposed to be like a big deal because they got him from Utah, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. he was doing a decent amount for Utah. I'm pretty sure they'll have the splits.
Yeah.
16 a game for Utah, shooting 42%, making 2.5 threes a game. Yeah, he was good off the bench for them.
Yeah,
I remember that. And he was starting to come into his own. It was like this was the right time to get a guy like that. Yeah. And they thought he was going to do a lot more than he ended up doing.
Yeah.
He ended up basically the biggest thing that they got in these trades was a reinvigorated LeBron James back on their team.
Yeah.
Instead of a guy that was just fed up with the entire system.
Yeah.
So he takes them, they start winning at least a little bit more. And enough to get the Cavs. Where did they finish? 4th place? 3rd place?
Yeah, finished 4th. And I think this was right before the playoffs. He was like, I don't care. Like, it doesn't matter where my team is seated. I think I always have a chance. Or something like that, right?
They were behind Philly. They're behind Boston. Again, they're Toronto. Everyone thinks Toronto. This is going to be their year because Dwayne Casey wins Coach of the Year.
When you think about it, like, him losing Kyrie, him really not having that good of a team, like, you could see why people could start thinking like, oh, maybe Toronto could finally beat him one of these years or this year, you know?
For sure. He looked super beatable all season.
Yeah.
Just looked defeated, and like the fact that he's second in MVP voting is kind of wild, in my opinion.
Well, I think it's because it's mainly the win totals. He's 4th in the East when the East is not that competitive.
Yeah, I know, but I mean, he's averaging like 27, 9, and 9.
But he had to quit. He had to quit on his team. He quit on his team halfway through the season. He literally quit on them. He stopped. I never thought when he did the shit with not Michael Jordan, but when he did the shit where he let his team play 4-on-5, Michael Jordan would never do that.
Yeah.
Kobe would never do that. Fucking none of the greats beforehand that we've seen would ever just completely give up on their team. Doesn't matter what part of the season it is.
Yeah, because the whole
all
thing.
I'll say is to that though it was like what 9 games out of an 82 game season. So that's what like 9%, like 10% of the season that he didn't try for. That would be like if he sat out for 10% of the season, and plenty of people still get MVP if they sit out. That he was just mentally sitting out, even though he was physically on the court.
But I don't agree. I don't agree.
I think it's a mix. So one, it's a mix of Harden not coming in second place for the last like 3 or 4 years. I think in the MVP. So that's one of the reasons Harden kind of won this MVP. But then also LeBron, like it's because you got to think about it when you're voting and it's like a consensus kind of thing, and you see like, all right, Harden's having a really good year, LeBron's having a really good year, but then you see LeBron is doing shit like leaving his team to play offense for, you know, like a couple possessions in the game. Like that kind of skews your view of it. And like I understand what you're saying, because you're saying like all time, okay, but in terms of just what this is for this year,
yeah,
like that shouldn't affect it. Like I see what you're saying, Lindsay, but I just think it was just a mix of Harden. I don't think him being second is wrong. I
totally get why he wasn't first, but my argument was like, I get why he was second. Like Russell's argument saying it was bizarre that he had anything at all. That's all.
I'm surprised that he was in second, considering the win totals, number one, right? He's 4th in the East. He's putting up numbers that he's put up before. Like nothing stands out about this stat line, right? And there are other guys that are like when we look at,
who would you have above him? Because I agree with you, Lindsay. I think him being second makes sense. I don't like Golden State. You get the splits between Steph and KD. I guess Portland could be the only other team, but the Cavs won more games than Portland did.
you know what I think this is a case of, in my opinion? This is a case of the league being caught between two generations of guys. And then when you include the fact that you got a lot of the, like KD and Steph Curry are not on two different teams. So that takes away two candidates, right?
Yeah.
Kawhi Leonard's not playing this season because of his leg and trouble with the Spurs, right? How many guys are even putting up 20 a game this year? We have 22 guys over 20 a game. That's an okay amount, but how many guys are over 25? Less than 10. So there's not a whole lot of superstar level play in comparison to what we're seeing in 2020 and the stat lines we're seeing now and the way the pace is moving. It feels like Damian Lillard. He's 27, but he's not the Damian Lillard we even know now. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like Kevin Durant still on Golden State, and this was the year he got that somebody fell on his leg in Washington, and he was out for a couple of games with that.
Yeah.
I remember that thing. Westbrook, people were mad about last year. He should really be in the conversation. No one has ever done a triple-double twice in a row.
Yeah.
And
but
he felt like a comet.
He's seated at like 7th or 8th right now.
But he was 6th the last time. I just think he should.
Yeah, but that was just more so because no one has done it in 60 years. So like,
look, they were 4th.
But like,
he was in a better spot this season.
So you like Westbrook over LeBron?
Just for this year?
I think sure. LeBron's fourth in the East, just like Westbrook's 4th in the West. But LeBron won more games.
But the West is way harder. You would totally argue that.
No, I agree with that.
The West is way harder. Westbrook is not taking any games off.
But LeBron did it. LeBron
he did
82 straight games.
Yeah, like Lindsay said, he wasn't there mentally, but he was there physically. I don't give a fuck if you're there. You got to be there 100% for your team.
How many games didn't Westbrook miss? Like, how many games did he miss?
I just think Westbrook, when he is playing, isn't letting his team play 4 and 5 on offense, and isn't begging to get trades and complaining.
But let's say Westbrook. I don't want to guess what he missed. Oh, he only missed 2 games. Okay. He
had another guy in Paul George putting up 22 a game.
Yeah.
So maybe that's the reason. But Kyrie was on his team the year before, and LeBron was in the top of MVP voting.
Yeah.
I just think that this is. I don't think LeBron should have been in the conversation, considering everything that he had to do to get his team changed, including total loss of motivation halfway through the season. It's not becoming of a guy I want. That's not the MVP of any season. Like, you could tell me in any year, if you told me, yeah, there's a guy who's second in MVP voting, but 10% of the year he just didn't want to play. Like you said, he played all 82 games, but he just decided. I don't know.
But then when you tell me he averaged 27, 9, and 9, I'm be like, oh, and his team was 4th in the East, and like that's gonna change my mind. Like,
that should make you think negatively, not positively.
That what happened?
That should make you think negatively about it. The fact that he was only 4th in the East. Like,
no, but I'm saying if you're comparing him to every other person there, like you can see why he was second. I don't see anybody else that deserves to go above him in that.
I think,
and plus a lot of Westbrook's triple doubles. I'm not trying to be a hater, man, but they were letting him get some of those rebounds. Like we know
part of the offensive system. I don't know what that means.
Huh?
Like, the refs weren't letting him get rebounds.
His teammates were letting him literally not getting rebounds so he could get rebounds.
Yeah, but also part of that system was Westbrook gets the rebound and immediately runs down the field or runs down the fucking court, and that charges the fast break. Like, that was part of what they were doing.
Yeah,
LeBron's done it in a very similar way.
Where they just let him get the rebounds? No, people get the rebounds and they pass it to him.
I mean, I
They
guess
were boxing out so that Westbrook could get rebounds to get his triple doubles. This is a fact. Like there's footage of it. Like
I don't think. I don't know. What am I supposed? I'm not taking that so seriously because what am I supposed to say? They were doing that every game, and so Westbrook.
They were doing a lot of games.
I don't think. I think there's no way you can
watch that, bro. Did you?
You didn't watch 82 games of the Oklahoma City Thunder? Get the fuck out of here!
No, I didn't watch it, but I've
watched. You probably watched 2 regular season games. You probably watched 2 full regular season games of the Thunder that year.
Oh, that's not
they
true.
weren't on regular. They weren't on TNT. They weren't. Unless you had league pass,
triple doubles.
You're not watching the Thunder. Get the fuck out of here!
All the time.
They were not on national television nearly as much as you watch more Laker games for sure on national television 100%, than Thunder. 100%. That's my point.
That's because.
Well, don't tell me I didn't watch. Get the fuck out of here. Fucking.
If there's no way, if you arguing that they didn't give him those rebounds.
If he was close, they definitely helped him, but they didn't always help him if he wasn't close. Like he had to also get rebounds. Like
I've seen them do that a lot, where he was just literally they were boxing out and literally not trying to get the rebound so he could get the rebound.
I think you're just over remembering that. I don't think that happened as much as you think it did. I think it happened, but I don't think it happened as much as you think. He was a stat patter for sure.
You know I'm petty. I'm literally going to send you mad videos now after this just to let you know. There will be times that he would go to and he'd get an easy layup, but he was passing it off so he could get the assist instead. He was doing shit he was clearly.
Yeah, but he's not the only person to ever do that. Like, what?
But he was clearly trying.
You don't think Harden was doing that when he was trying to get 29 and 11? You don't think Harden's doing that right now in the Nets when he's trying to get all his triple doubles? Like, there are so many other guys that can be accused of that. And Westbrook, Westbrook's still the only guy to do it in 60 years, and he's doing it 2 years in a row. Yeah. Like, that's hard.
I'm mad that I'm defending LeBron. I don't even like LeBron in this season, but y'all bugging. There's no way that LeBron didn't deserve him voting for MVP.
I think he was weak-minded, and he doesn't deserve it for being weak-minded.
Man.
My opinion.
How this all flips in the playoffs.
That's the craziest part about this whole thing. That's why this is one of my favorite LeBron seasons, for the record.
Playoffs?
Yeah, now we have to do playoffs. I can't do any more on this regular season. But
I got the series ups.
This stretch of time, after all the shit I just spoke about their season, this is the most impressive LeBron stretch of this period of time. And I believe that, even though I don't think he deserved to be in the MVP conversation. I believe that if playoff MVP existed, they would be him, and then it would be whoever was in second would be way down here in terms of voting or whatever.
100%.
This is LeBron's greatest Michael Jordan impression. And he has to do it because his team is against a fucking wall every single series. And especially in this first one against Victor Oladipo, who had turned his whole career around. The year before, he was Russell Westbrook's sidekick, scoring 2 points a game. Now he was leading a Pacer team into the playoffs, right? Was able to get over 20 points a game. He had a couple of good games in this series. So did Bogdanovich, too. Baby Sabonis is here when he's really a baby. But it's basically LeBron putting the team on his back. 34, 10, and 8 with a steal and a half and a block a game. Shooting over 55%. That's no one else is doing.
This is the closest that he ever had. This is the closest that he's ever almost lost in the first round, right?
Yep.
It's crazy.
For sure. I feel like we haven't seen a 7-game.
My man put up 45 in Game 7. Said, "Nah, bro."
I feel like since he was playing the Wizards. But look, even in this Game 7 where he's putting out everything, it's only a 4-point game. That's where the team is at right here.
Yeah.
No one can get a shot to fall. Everyone's shooting under 30%.
Yeah.
Except for LeBron. Stunning, in my opinion. And it was how he was doing it. He was getting game winners.
Hey, we got to shout out Tristan Thompson. We saw that. My man was shooting almost 90% with his putbacks.
I'm pretty sure he hit the game winner here in Game 5.
He was doing his putbacks. Huh?
He had the game winner in Game 5 of the series.
Yeah.
And a lot of people felt like after Game 6 they were not going to win Game 7 because of how bad they destroyed them in Game 6.
Yeah.
87 to 121 Pacers is a beatdown. But yeah, like I said, all these guys shooting under 30%, except for Rodney Hood, who's took about 40 shots this year. So
this is completely different from the year before. We saw LeBron, I think he took 97 shots in the first series.
And he had
of
split it with Kyrie.
Yeah, he was split. Yeah, and now he's at 150 field goals. That's crazy. And still shooting the 55% from the field, because he was shooting 55% for the field last year. But that's crazy.
I want to ask you guys this before we move on to the next series. Do you think he is carrying worse talent than 2007? Because that's the only comparable period.
No. I think Kevin Love, J.R. Smith, all of those guys are better. I think it's hard to
equitable because the people in 2007 were scoring more points per game on average than these people are this year.
Especially.
So if you're saying based off of, because if you're comparing talent for talent, this team is more talented than 2007. But if you're saying talent based off,
there's stuff you can see on paper. Like on paper, Kevin Love looks better, but what you actually got out of Kevin Love wasn't better.
Precisely.
Yeah. So I think what's the better thing to do is say, do you think the talent compared to what's in the league right now versus the talent he had compared to what was in the league back then? Because I think that's where you could, because the talent overall is better.
Yeah.
Then
I don't know
what I mean.
Having said that, I do know what you mean. But having said that, especially considering like the 07 talent was very big, like they had way more size.
And the whole thing is
they had Bear Zhao.
Yeah.
And this team has no size.
Yeah. Then the thing is that 07 team had defense. They played lockdown defense. Like this team doesn't.
And they won 60 some odd games. Like I think this team is worse. And especially considering their mental, like they have no belief.
The 07 season nothing. And this season they have the exact same record of 50-32.
Oh, really?
Yes.
So even I thought they won more. The next year they won the 60, right? And he wins MVP. I think that happens the next year.
Yeah, I think so.
No, 08 he's 45-37, and then 09 he's 66 games.
But
for MVP.
It's even better that they're both at 50 wins because this is it works out better that way. What do you call it? I think this team, if it was a 7-game series between the two teams, I do not know if I would. I don't know where I would want to put my money.
Really?
I would be very scared. Just because, like,
what year are we playing? 07 or in 2020?
Do you really think the rules are that different?
Yes.
Between 07 and now?
Shoot that team out of the gym.
I don't think the rules are so different.
18 would win just also because LeBron's so much different as well.
Yeah, I think this LeBron's way better than that LeBron. But they don't have anybody to guard their size on the inside.
That's what I'm saying. Like in 2007, that if you playing the way 2007 plays, you play more. You get more defense. You get more like it.
They're going to play like that. They're gonna play like that anyway because that's how they play. They're a good defensive team, and this team is always going to shoot more threes because that's their type of team. So that's why I don't know what you mean by that, because the rules, like the referee rules, are not different in those two eras. Like the hand checking is already banned.
The way that it's officiated, like the way
I totally disagree with that because it's too.
Can we look at foul calls in 2007 versus 2019? I guarantee 2019 or 2018 had way more foul calls than the year before. than the 2007 year. And that, to me, that proves that the officiating is different.
I
Because they're
guess I
calling
just don't. I don't think it's that. I just think the pace is different more than the officiating. But I feel like we're getting too far into this.
No, that's fine. That's a totally different conversation too. Right?
Yeah, because I was more thinking about it just strictly from talent. You're thinking about it in terms of rules, and I totally didn't see that coming.
Well, I think
because I just think the rules are the same. I think the rules are the same. I don't think like when you say 1987, that's different.
when you talk
2007, that wasn't that long ago. Like it wasn't that long ago.
15 years ago. When you talk about,
there weren't any major rule changes.
No, I'm talking about the way that they let you play versus the way that they let you play now. It's been
I don't agree.
They say it all the time on TNT. They gotta let these guys play.
Yeah, but they said it in 2007 also. They've been saying it this whole time. They've been saying the league's been getting soft since fucking Kobe and Shaq. Like that's why it's not. It's all in that this era's soft thing. But that era was more with defensive teams, like like that Pistons team, and like the pace was super slow. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's why I was like,
I think we should just agree to disagree on that. let's go to the semifinals.
Okay.
Well, in the semifinals, this is where LeBronto is born.
Yeah. So is this one? Is this the series where Kyrie is like calling this dude the Ty Lue, like calling Ty Lue for advice? Do you remember that?
No.
In the middle of a series versus Cleveland, he was like getting mentally fucked, and he literally was calling Ty Lue for advice.
Ty Lue's still the coach, right?
Yes, that's what that was, like. He was the coach for the opposing team.
Oh my god!
Like, I don't care. Like, I understand mental health is a thing, but I was like, this dude is a pussy. Like,
you can't. First of all, that's just like that feels like cheating. It just feels.
You don't remember that? Like, I swear,
no, I don't.
I can't remember if it was
I'll look this. If I can get the story, I'll get it.
Yeah.
But LeBron was hitting anything that he wanted to hit on Toronto.
Yeah.
He had a game winner where he ran all the way down the court and he hit a floater and it banked off the backboard. And he took the shot like he'd take it a million times.
Yeah.
And he ran all the way up the court. Yeah. He started from the backcourt, runs all the way up the court, bank shot.
You said it multiple times. He was just trying shit. Like,
yeah, like, he was.
Yeah.
He was. I gotta get those. We'll look at some of those highlights.
You can just put game winner on Toronto.
Toronto, fucking. But just him at the end of some of these games, he would sit in the post. He dominated them from the elbows. Like,
that was very Jordan-esque what he was doing. He was doing a lot of turnaround jump shots and fadeaways and stuff like that.
And he was playing a good portion of the game from right where he's playing it right here. Yeah, just that mid range. Pulling a DeMar DeRozan.
Do you think maybe he did like look at a lot of Jordan footage that year or something? He was just like, fuck it, I'm just gonna go MJ on these motherfuckers.
Well, I think he definitely had that thought, but I think the reason why he had that thought was like, fuck, this reminds me of 07. Like, look at this team. No one can score.
He probably thought 98 Bulls.
Yeah.
He was like, it's 2018, 20 years later. We could rejuvenate this.
And also think about what he said. He goes, in when he was in Miami, he had said, if I needed to score 35 a game, I could.
Yeah.
Well, you're getting your chance right now.
Yeah. And he did. Well, he averaged 34, right? 34.
Yep. 30. I think 35 for the entire playoffs, but yeah, 34 for this series. 34 and 11.
Yeah.
Just nasty.
With like 9 assists, right? 7, 8, 7, 9, something.
11 assists. I think it was 9 rebounds or something like that.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he was just the offense. And he was literally running everything from here. He would get the pick and roll. He would either take the 3 or run right to the elbow and make decisions. Like, that was the entire game. I never saw him at the top of the key. Very rarely. So It was all, and he blocking shots. The guy is a fucking wrecking crew.
Yeah.
But yeah, at some of the end of these games, as I move forward through the series a little bit, he's just like, he's taking baskets where bullshit step backs, making them. He gets in the post and he just like puts them in the torture chamber.
Yeah, I think it was game 3 where he makes that game-winning layup.
Yeah, for sure. I gotta find that.
Or game-winning floater. Yeah, that was definitely. I remember I was like, "That's a hard ass shot."
This
that was
shit,
not.
this post shit. This was the end of game 2.
Yeah,
where he was like just floating over his shoulders, double fake shoulder moves.
you know how like that's crazy. Like you know how much he was in their head, like mentally.
It's brutal.
Like, he had to be so like just in their head. Like you guys can't beat me if your life depended on it. Like this is literally LeBron on his own.
Yeah.
Like that's crazy.
The Wikipedia changed the city of Toronto in the first paragraph. At the end of it, it said LeBron James currently owns the city of Toronto. And it became known as LeBronto. And I think this is going to be something that as we move on from the years, like when he retires, this is going to be much bigger. People are going to remember this way differently as the years go on, in my opinion. Because I think
that's MJS type shit.
Of his careers.
Like MJ has a lot of those stories where he just owned like
boom
he
right
owned
there.
It. Yeah, like
not without even fucking trying.
Yeah,
runs full court, but
because that's so tough. That's like such a tough shot. Hey, Travis Kelce, let's go, boy. Let's go. We lit. All right, my bad, but
you were saying about
this is like MJS shit, like because like MJ has stuff like that where he just like owns specific teams or like players and shit like that. Like this is gonna be something that's like historically remembered. Like
LeBron, ironically, MJ had done it to Cleveland. Like he had the 69-point game against Cleveland. Yeah. He hit the first big shot at the foul line against Cleveland.
Yeah.
But for LeBron, it's for sure the Toronto Raptors.
Yeah.
But
because like I feel like MJ with the Knicks, like that was a big thing. Like he how he owned the Knicks.
Yeah.
Like it's gonna be like that.
But
they face each other so much. Like LeBron throughout his entire career, he was facing Toronto like a good amount, or at least like especially in Cleveland run, he faced them almost every year.
Well, that's what he has a team through each one of those spots. Like it was the Pistons in the beginning, and then
Pacers,
and then it was the Toronto, and that's not even including when he got to the finals.
Yeah,
because in the finals he's got Western Conference rivals too.
Yeah,
but another team that LeBron would face a shit ton of times. I think he's faced Boston more than any other team in his playoff life.
Yeah,
because he faces Boston through each series of his,
and he's
no matter whether it's Miami or the first Cleveland run or the second Cleveland run, he always faces Boston.
Yeah,
and this would also go 7 games, and this is basically the baby Celtics with Jason Tatum at age 21, Marcus Smart 23 years old, Scary Terry. Right?
Oh, yeah.
Tatum's 19. Brown was 21. Russell.
Oh, my fault. Even younger. My bad. Jaylen Brown is 21. But a group effort. And this is when people were talking about Brad Stevens being maybe the best coach in basketball, because now he's gotten to the Eastern Conference Finals 2 years in a row with 2 totally different teams.
Yeah.
Right? And again, it's basically LeBron. Right? Who else? So Kevin loves putting up 12 points, but he's only shooting 37%. George Hill, 45%, but only less than 10 points a game, right?
Yeah.
Jeff Green had 1 good game 7. I think that's his entire output. But it's LeBron.
Like for him to average 8 assists when you got guys not even averaging over 10 points, like how? Like how did you get 8 assists?
Like, if it was regular season, I would say this is obvious stat padding.
The only time they made shots was if he helped them make them.
Cause like they got 9 other assists, like throughout the series without him like touching it. Like that's crazy. And most likely they were assists of passing it to him.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like that's crazy. He
out of 122 assists.
And he averaged 33% over 33% of their points. I think it was like 36% of their points.
For sure. Some of that information will be above your head, Daria.
Yeah.
But in Game 7, and I remember this because in both conferences it came to Game 7, right?
Yeah.
Because the Warriors were playing the Rockets in their Game 7.
Yeah. And the exact opposite of the year before.
True. Very true.
Yeah.
But the story of both games was exactly the same. The Celtics and the Rockets both had their 3-point game that basically got them to the dance fall out from under them.
Yes.
Right?
The live by the 3, die by the 3. Really,
And this is why a lot of time before the Warriors, there were many pundits that felt that you couldn't be a jump shooting team and win a championship. That was a major storyline that went into, I know, the old Phoenix teams and a lot of teams that were perimeter centric. So it was very interesting that in Game 7, and this had happened to the Knicks too in previous era, like the big 3-point Knicks games.
I just have a quick question for you. Do you think that that's the Warriors are just the exception and that's the rule, or do you think that's changing?
That's a great fucking question.
That's what I'm here for. I'm like being.
I think it could be changing.
What happened?
I think it could be changing just by the way that like you see it becoming more positionless and like taller people stretching out the floor and shooting threes more. As the focus on shooting increases, people are just going to get better at shooting, so you can actually shoot your way to a championship, in my opinion.
But here's the influx to that, or the opposite of that, rather. Those same big guys are just getting better in general. There are no quality big men in the league up until very recently. Like a lot of these guys were either too young, like the Embiids of the world, were too young. They were in the league, but they were too young at this point. And if the big men catch up to the guards in terms of skill and being able to do things, like look at a guy like Giannis. He's the size of a center and can do lots of things a guard can do. He's one of the most dominant players in the league for that reason. Once the size and the skill catches up, I think it's going to be impossible to be a jump shooting team and defeat guys like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but those big guys are still shooting though.
Right, but okay, great example is Embiid. Embiid was shooting too much before this season. And now look, now that he's back down and realized he's a post-presence first, look at where Philadelphia has gone in 2021.
Yeah.
Like it's because to answer Dario's question, I don't think it's changing. I think the Warriors were in the right place, right time, and they were simply the best.
Yeah,
because they had defense too.
So the only thing so I think, in my opinion, I think that is a rule that jump shooting teams won't win.
Yeah.
And I think honestly, the only jump shooting team that truly did win, was the 2015 Warriors, and it was because of injury.
Yeah, true.
The 2016 Warriors then lose, and then they add the greatest, one of the second best player in the league.
Yeah,
and which makes them a jump shooting team. But then they have a closer. Like it's like different. Like he's able to do everything, and I think that's what made him switch. And then ever since then, like if you look at throughout the whole NBA history, there hasn't really been a jump shooting team to win.
It's very true.
I can't think of anyone else. So that's the only thing that makes me think it was just an exception, and it was mainly because of timing. Like Kyrie got injured, and Kevin Love was out of that series, but I was just curious to know what you guys thought.
Yeah, I that's a good question. Like, I definitely think you might be onto something with that Warriors, right? But like I said, right pace, right time, and right system. Most importantly, like they had the right system, and they weren't like with jump shooting teams in the past. There was uh, they would take away defense, or they would sacrifice defense to make it happen, and that
Yeah,
team wasn't fucking doing that, which I think made them different.
yeah,
But it's a good point. And look at where the Warriors are at now that they're a little bit more battered and they don't have nearly as much talent. Like it's way
hmm
harder to get to the top of the leaderboard.
yeah.
But uh, LeBron, dominant in game seven, right? He had a crazy game seven. 35 points, 15 rebounds, 9 assists.
Yeah.
Smash.
Just in the
And
last two, between the two game sevens that he played in this playoffs,
yeah,
he's averaging like 40, 10 and 10 or something like that. Like
fucking
it's
absurd.
crazy.
And look at a lot of these scores, especially in game seven here. This is a 1998 score, if I've ever seen one, or an
Yeah.
early 2000 score. The pace has got to be slowed down.
How many
Yeah.
points does he have this game?
45.
35, 35.
Oh, 35. Sorry, my
You're
bad. Yeah,
He
45.
got help from Jeff Green. He had the
Still, 35 out of 87 of your team's points.
Yeah, that's a good like 40.
hey, that's what Jordan used to do almost every night.
It's
Right.
insane.
That's yo. All right, I'm not even about to go because that's a fact. Like we over here, like giving this guy the
Think about that a lot.
job.
I think about that
Jordan
a lot.
averaged this shit for his whole career in the playoffs.
Playoffs, regular season, random Tuesday in March. It doesn't
Yeah.
matter. What a fucking savage. But
yeah,
we are on to round 4. Cavs versus Warriors. It sounds boring even when I say it.
So,
It's rude.
and if you guys want to know like what kind of Warriors team this one is, it's the same shit as last year. Little bit less chemistry. There's a little
bit less motivated.
Yeah, a little bit less motivated, a little bit more stagnant with ball movement. But they go 7 games with the actual NBA Finals, which was, to me, the Western Conference Finals was the NBA Finals. Because I think either one of those teams would have won the championship this year.
You think the Rockets, had they won, they would have defeated Cleveland?
Yeah, for sure.
Even though James Harden
is strictly because LeBron was by himself.
Yeah, and they had beaten the piss out of Cleveland during the regular season. Houston did.
Yeah,
they had pretty much wiped the floor with them. But Durant, 30 a game, doing what he does. Same deal in this game 7, right? Same exact deal I was talking about that happened with Cleveland and the Celtics happens here with the Rockets, right? So the Celtics made 7. They went 7 of 39 from 3.
yeah.
The Rockets go 7 of 44 from 3. 16% from 3-point range. A team that had ridden the three-pointer all the way there. No Chris Paul, right? Another injury. Luck for the Warriors.
I'm so proud of you, man, that you rounded that good. I was totally waiting for you to say 15%. Like,
this is what I'm saying. I don't know if I'll ever get better, solely because
it has to be like obvious. Like it's like, oh, it's 1 off of 16, so it has to be 16.
But what do you call it? But the Warriors scraped through this, and now, and trust me, when they were celebrating this championship or this Western Conference championship, you could feel like, okay, nice. Now we just got to deal with the pussy ass Cavs.
Yeah,
it
was like a relief for sure.
Yeah,
yeah.
This is gonna be a walk in the park, and it was a walk in the park. They swept the shit out of them. There was only one game where it was even remotely close.
Yeah,
and we're gonna talk about it right now. Game 1 of the 2018 NBA Finals.
Okay.
Or what?
No. This is LeBron's major game. I thought the game 3 was the remotely close one.
No. So LeBron, same thing he had done to get to this point. He's trying to control the pace. Look at where the pace is, under 90.
Yeah.
Right? He's trying to control the pace. The whole game, he's trying to keep up with the Warriors. In the first half, he's 9 for 11. He gets 24 points, He's dunking on JaVale McGee in the first quarter. He's completely trying to what do you call it? He's trying to keep it exactly at the point where they can go toe for toe.
What he's pretty much trying to do is what he did in 2015, but for the entire playoffs. Because in 2015 against the Warriors, when he's just trying to do that, but for the entire playoffs. And to think that 3 years later, he's able to really do that for that long stretch of time when he got gassed in 2015 when he had to do it. You know what I mean? Like, so that's like for people who want to like question whether this dude is like athletically fit or like what he does works. Like this is how you prove it. Like 2015, he did this. It was amazing, but he got gassed. 2018, he had to do the same shit, but for a whole 2 months, and he did it.
I think you don't think this is his best game, right?
No, I think me personally, I think it's the Game 6 versus Boston.
What do you
defensively and offensively, it was he was just in a different realm.
Yeah. What do you think, Lindsay? What do you think?
I would really have to go and look and watch them again, but this is the one that I remember watching, so I'd probably go with this one. I don't think I watched him play the Game 6 against Boston.
Like live, you're saying?
Yeah.
When I just remember, here, I was just like, this guy is freaking amazing. I definitely did say that, but against Boston, I remember just thinking like, there's something gotten into him. Like, this is not the same guy that I was just rooting against. He literally pulled it because I was rooting for Boston like crazy, and I remember him like literally pulling the hope I had of him losing right out of my chest, and I was this is over. Like he's definitely gonna go to the playoffs go to the finals right now, and I remember it just being crazy. And here, it definitely would have been up there. But we'll get to why the nitpick. Because to me, when you're comparing the greatest games ever, it's just like comparing greatest players ever. Like you have to nitpick. Like, and there's things in this game that he does that he didn't do in the Boston game, and that's why I nitpick.
So before I get into the finishing sequence, I wanted to ask if LeBron was able to be this LeBron. I'm going to go back to this question, but it's true. If LeBron was able to be this LeBron in this game in the 2007 finals, but same team, same team, but LeBron has this basketball IQ. He's not the young. Do you think LeBron is able to change anything in that series? Maybe not win, but do you think he's able to change something in that series?
Oh yeah, for sure. I think it goes to 6.
That's very interesting.
I think I give, and that was the thing. Like I always hated LeBron, but I always gave him the respect, and I always gave him a game. I would always give him a game. Probably not now because I knew he was on his own at this point, but I always said LeBron's gonna give you at least one game. Like, and you got to give it to most of the greats. I think any great player, if you, especially at this level of his career, like you have to give him a game. I'm giving him 2 though because. I think he could control the pace. But he'd be going against freaking
Popovich and the prime Duncan,
prime Ginobili, and prime Parker.
Like they were a really good team, not just as good as this Warriors team. This Warriors team had a little bit more talent, but they were a very, very, very good team, and didn't mind playing in a slow pace.
Yeah.
But I'm just curious because I the parallels between because they're 10 years apart. Really 11 years apart.
Yeah.
And I just think that the growth between that guy that we saw, that we covered in 2007, and the guy we're talking about right now, even though in both scenarios he has no chance of winning, it's super interesting.
But the guy in 07, if you was to put him here, he wouldn't even get to the finals. You think so? Yeah, I don't think he would get to the finals.
That's a great point. I'm inclined to agree with you. But it's the end of game 1. of the finals. LeBron has 40 some odd points. He has basically
49 to be exact. I remember this for a reason. Sorry.
He was dominating them. He was playing incredibly well. He's got Steph Curry on him, which is the goal of the last 4 seasons, 4 NBA Finals. The game is, how can we get LeBron on Steph every single season, every single series?
Yep.
So they get what they want, right? I'm gonna run the play. So I'm gonna stop right here. So now Draymond took his eyes off Hill, right? Takes his eyes off George Hill and allows George Hill to make an easy cut because he doesn't want LeBron to drive into the basket here. Same thing with Durant. If J.R. Smith had cut here, I think the same thing happens.
This is why, by the way, Klay Thompson was the best defender in the Warriors, just to let you know.
Okay. So Klay obviously is down here. He's going to have a hand on George Hill, and he's going to
I like how you just
rip him down.
me. Like, okay. Just keep on moving it.
It moved right into what I was going to say.
Yeah. No. Because if you look, could you just rotate that back just to 4 seconds? Look at everybody, and I don't even understand why Draymond is doing this. Like, these 3 guys. Oh, you guys can't see my fingers, but the 3 guys between you really got 4 guys paying attention to LeBron James all at the same time.
So we got 1 pair of eyes, 2 pairs of eyes, 3 obviously, 4. Really, there's 1 eye here and 1 eye on Corbin.
Yeah. So, but the whole thing, he's not looking at LeBron at all. And I think his job in this defense was to check for Draymond's man, because he never looks at LeBron here. He only looks at Corbin and Draymond's guy. I think he was waiting for that cut.
Maybe. And
because look, he never looked at LeBron at all. Like, he literally just he tried to grab him because he saw the cut happening.
Yeah, but there was no. I'm sure he was told, help me if something like that happens.
Yeah.
And don't let anybody get a free layup. But I'm sure he wasn't told, you're guarding these 2 guys at one time.
No. Yeah, I know that. But what I'm saying is just that he's the only guy not just focused on LeBron. Maybe that was his role though in the defense. But I always thought that Klay was the best defender. Everybody hyped up Draymond, but Klay was just.
Well, Klay, you like guard defenders more than you like big man defenders, anyways.
Yeah, I guess, but I mean, I just Klay.
You side for that so much more.
His role was so critical on both sides, and it was like he's just like, I feel like he just looked past. Like,
here's another view of it. So he is looking at LeBron a little bit, but he's looking for the pass here, like you said.
Yeah.
But 4 guys are looking at LeBron, right? But Klay has to foul here because that's a layup.
Oh, of course, yeah. That was a smart play to do. Yeah.
He has to foul
because he at least buys them some time too. Like, even if he has to shoot the free throws, you get a shot.
And now you're putting George Hill at the line, and I remember looking at George Hill and just thinking, I don't know. When he hit the first one, I was like, okay, that's big. And then I saw his face right here coming up on the second.
Yeah.
I don't care what anyone says. That is a look of a stressed man. You only see a guy look like that when he's thinking and seeing his whole life flash before his eyes. This is the biggest moment of his playing career. This might be, outside of the birth of his children and maybe his wedding, the biggest moment of his life. As I continue. 1 for 1. For 81% in the playoffs, but that was his first free throw that he took all game. Right? It's a pressure cooker. They're in Oakland. I like to set up the drama.
Yeah.
Oakland's loud as fuck too. Like, they're so loud.
Any last words before he takes this shot? No?
No.
Oh, I had a feeling he was gonna miss this shot for sure. I was like, this guy's a pussy. He's like, there's no way. And look, you see it. Look, right off of this hit, boom. He shorted it. You wanna know why? Because his balls was tucked between his ass. So fuck, he was definitely.
And it affected him greatly.
And then the infamous.
So here's the most important thing. Down here, as you can see, each team has a timeout remaining.
Yeah.
Each team has a timeout. LeBron didn't know that he had this timeout.
Yep.
And no one calls it, obviously. And when LeBron finds out about the timeout, he like loses his mind. He like completely he crumbles mentally. Like he's completely defeated. It's bizarre. And of course, the awkward seating.
All right, so now when we talk about the nitpicking, right? You gotta talk when you talk about a guy's apex. To me, it's not only the statistics. It's also about like just what he's done. Like, because when I look at an apex game for a specific guy, I think this is his greatest game because he did everything that he does great in this game, and usually it's in a win. But LeBron, I think he does that. I think he does that up to this point. For whatever reason, these last 10 seconds of this game and overtime, he just like changed. Like to me, like you were attacking the whole game. You had 49 points going into this. You had the ball on Steph Curry, whether there's 4 guys on him or not. You could have at least attacked. I don't know, but I mean, I'm a very old school mind on that.
Yeah,
so.
I know. I completely understand. When you have a guy that's right underneath the basket, I'm waiting for him to get the timeout message.
Yeah.
When you have a guy right underneath the basket, and you're a guy who's their whole career has passed it to the open man and made the right play every single time. There's no way he was going to drive on anything. He just wasn't going to do that. To him, that's a stupid play.
Yeah, which is okay. Like even to that point, but then
Here we go.
I was going to get to that.
The last, but you could see him. He's going. We don't have no timeouts left yet.
Yeah. But like,
he had a timeout, and that's what.
But even that though, why did you? He did that for a reason. He wanted to be like.
I just think that was in the moment that he found out. I don't think he was like, I'm going to find out about this time, because he genuinely didn't know until that moment.
He looks like he's about to cry. He looks like he's about to cry.
Yeah,
for sure.
But what does that have to do? Like at this point, it doesn't mean anything in the game, and he's not a dumb guy. Like it doesn't matter no more. If you had timeouts or not, like you had the chance, it still didn't mean you were gonna win the game. Yeah. Like, and he knows that. So it's like, at this point, you still got to try to win the game. And then what he goes on to do is he takes his first shot, like after like 3 or 4 minutes pass in the freaking overtime.
It totally took him out of it.
But to me, that's what. If we talking about his apex greatest moment or a game, that's what kind of just pulls it out of it for me, because maybe it's his top 5, top 3 game in his career, but that's what takes it out of it for me.
So I just remember at the end of this game, they just like they're pushing and shoving. And LeBron's being annoying about it. I just remember, I remember that being like, because LeBron was just so angry about taking the loss after working hard or whatever. After the game, he has a interview, right?
Yeah.
Where he walks out on the post-game conference. Right? And immediately after that, he breaks his hand. Breaks his hand in the locker room, and you won't see him wear a cast until after the finals. Right?
Yeah.
But let's look. Actually,
I honestly question if he really broke his hand, but there's reports that he did, because I just saw him dunk. I saw him do like wild shit after, like in the next 3 games of that series. So to me, I don't know. Like I definitely
he's still shooting over 50%. Like he's taking way less shots. That's for sure.
yeah.
And he's not doing what he did at the end of the last series that he lost, where he's freight training into the
But do
basket.
you not think he quit? He's quitting. Like he had just finished.
Oh, I think for sure he quit. I think for sure after game one, I think he was a different guy. 100%.
And you want to know another point in this series that made me feel like adds to this hypothesis? Can you go to game 3 when Kevin Durant hits literally almost an identical shot to his game 3 from the year before?
For sure, he does. Almost the same exact spot.
So and this is another. These are like just things that kind of like make, because you got to be hypercritical when you comparing like this guy, especially to himself and to what he's done in the past. And I know I just think other LeBron Jameses in other years of his career would have guarded Kevin Durant all the way through in the end, and he didn't do that at all.
I just don't think he could have.
No, why? No, I'm talking about if we go to that actual possession where Kevin.
I'm sorry.
No, you're good. You're good. I was wondering. I was like, maybe he's just pulling up the stats to see what happened, and then. But what he does, shot game 3, 20. Yep.
Deja Vu Dagger.
Deja Vu Dagger.
That's a cool name.
Yeah, look at what he does. If you look at what LeBron James does in this possession. Like you could just have it rolling. Steph comes to set a pick. Look, he just lets him. He was like, all right, I'm not even going to guard him. I don't care. Like, I don't give a fuck about that. Like, he didn't have to rotate on that. He clearly did not try. Like, and I think any other LeBron would have tried to at least fight off the screen. It wasn't even really a screen. It wasn't a real screen at all. And that, like, shit like that just made me super critical of this dude throughout that whole series.
You think he should have just told the guy, fuck off, I'm guarding him?
In that possession?
Yeah.
He didn't even get screened. Look at what happened. He just literally moved once.
Well, I'm asking you, though.
Yeah, it was like, to me, for sure. Like, to me, all he did was let Steph walk him to wherever he wanted him to bring.
Well, it looked like they're switching everything. I mean, I'm looking at the full possession.
But you're not,
like, it looks like, look,
possession.
Look, here, if we look over here, these guys are going to switch, right? They switch. Then here, switch again, and then watch. JR is going to come and switch on KD here. Ready? On the third screen, it's another switch. They're all switching. That's my only argument, is that maybe
that's just to me. That's just so dumb. This is the game.
Yeah, it looked like they all switched, but it looked like LeBron stayed on his man through all of those screens, though. Like everybody switched, but he stayed with his guy.
I don't know. I just feel like, especially this is the last minute of the game. This is the NBA Finals. You down 2-0. You down by 3. I'm gonna guard KD. I need a minute. I need a minute of energy. I'm guarding KD.
Yeah.
Michael Jordan would have guarded KD.
That's for sure.
Kobe Bryant would have guarded KD.
That's an unfortunate fact of life.
I've seen shit like that happen all the time.
And
that's just those things. And maybe LeBron is LeBron and they're them, but that's just the kind of players that I like, and that's the kind of players that I rooted for throughout my career. I mean,
but even irrelevant from your personal preferences, you weren't alone. There were many people that looked at not just that situation in particular, but situations throughout this Cleveland Warriors thing that made people feel that LeBron is either like, when the going got tough, he just wasn't interested.
Yeah.
And I don't know. To a certain extent, that's unfair, but to a certain extent,
no, yeah, especially I mean, you're going against literally the greatest. Like, they created this team to specifically stop you. You were like Thanos to them. Like, in reality, they were the Avengers, and he was like Thanos. So
that's why he was called LeThanos in a couple of the highlights. But let's see. He led this playoffs.
Is this season alone? Like, there was so many peaks and valleys. Like, there's great things to talk about, and there's just so many bad things too. Like, it's very interesting.
So he led this year's playoffs in points, right?
Yeah.
So points, assists, third in rebounding,
Yeah.
third in steals, fifth in blocks. He's top 5 in every statistical category.
Yeah.
That's field goal percentage. Field goal attempts is taken by far the most.
Yeah.
Effective field goal percentage. There's like a bunch of centers and people who aren't playing nearly as much as him.
Yeah.
But point being, he was absolutely dominant over the things that he could control, and I think getting his team to the finals.
Yeah.
Well, actually, this is a great question to ask right now. What's more valuable to you? A guy that makes it to the finals 8 straight years, but loses the majority of those times? Or would he have been better off not making the finals at all?
Oh, to me, that's always been stupid. Like, the whole, like, giving people credit for not losing in the finals is the dumbest thing in the world to me. Like, LeBron James going to the finals 8 straight times was like incredible. That's one of the reasons to me he's he's clearly like a top 5 player. To me, he's second all time. I don't think if he would have lost every single, like, if he would have Jerry West it and just lost
Or Elgin Baylor. Elgin Baylor's even worse. Elgin Baylor actually went over for his finals. So you think he went to 8
he would
and
have
9.
done shit like that, like, then I would have been like, okay, but he won. He won a couple of them, and he beat some of the greatest teams of all time.
He had lost when he was expected to win, and he had won when he was expected to lose.
Yeah,
he had a couple of those because the 2016
and he only
2011
lost when he expected to win once.
Yeah,
and that people hold that against him so much. Like,
it's just because of how ugly it was.
Yeah,
it's just because of how ugly it was. But this
you want to know what's really crazy is that Thunder chip. I feel like just as time keeps on going and going and going, that looks like a way crazier championship than what it really was.
I totally agree with that.
Yeah,
totally agree. But my last question on this is: do you think this Cleveland era for LeBron was a success, or for Cleveland, like in general? Do you think as a whole this was a successful 4-year run and so forth?
Yeah, I think so. Even though he won, because I said the Miami one was a failure in terms of what he sought out to achieve, and what he actually achieved.
Right.
Versus this Cleveland one, I think he only really wanted to get them a chip. Like, that was his goal, and he fulfilled it. And it also brought him up, like, all time in like the all time list. I feel like it brought him into top 5 immediately, like, easily, once he won that Cleveland championship.
A lot of people even at the time and to this day count that Cleveland championship as 2 championships.
Yeah, I can understand that, like, because of
the enormity of a championship in Cleveland.
Yeah,
I think it was an excess. I think it was a success for him personally.
Yeah.
However, and I'm really interested to see what happens when he finishes his career here, or not here, but like with the Lakers or wherever he chooses to finish his career. Because the one thing that I'll say about LeBron, and that I don't understand, is if he really wants to make a difference in Cleveland, like maybe he goes back and owns the team, but he really fucked them in a position in terms of like, after I leave, you guys are fucked. You don't have any draft picks. Like, you're not going to be in a position where you're going to make the playoffs in the near future.
But for me, I don't care.
Well, I know it's not. Yeah, I understand, and I'm sure LeBron doesn't care.
Yeah,
but I'm thinking, like, if you want to change Cleveland, like, change it after you leave too. But maybe that's nitpicking.
Well, my whole thing for Cleveland. All right, so just in terms of what he's done for the actual city of Cleveland, he's done so much outside of basketball that I think doesn't make that matter as much. But also, like, there's so many teams in not only in the NBA but in multiple sports that would sell out sell out just to get a championship. Like, you know what I mean? Like, so this is their first championship in ever. You know what I mean? Like,
it might be their last.
Yeah, exactly. And that would make him even greater, I think. If that really is the case, if we go another 40 years and Cleveland hasn't won a championship, that makes him. He's always going to be known as, hey, who was on the team that
actually got them there?
Yeah,
they've stuck this whole time, except for this one weird part.
Yeah.
That's really interesting. My last question, and it's kind of a hypothetical, but I think this is a good time to ask it, and then we're going to move on.
Yeah.
Do you think LeBron will inevitably own this team?
Oh no.
No, you don't.
No, I don't. I don't think the owner, unless it was like an agreement that they had on the side or something, I don't think the owner would give it to him because they don't like each other, man.
Well,
like,
I mean, he might outlive this owner.
That's true.
And
that is true. Yeah, you know what? Like,
he bought interest in the Red Sox, which I couldn't believe. That's a huge organization. And he bought a piece of the Red Sox. Like, he's trying to position himself from a financial standpoint to be an NBA owner, and he has said that he wants to do that.
He might get to a Billy before he even retires.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
If he does, I think a Billy would. I mean, I don't think he's going to spend all his money on the basketball team, but you get what I'm saying. I think a Billy would be enough to get it done for Cleveland.
Yeah, or at least get him
to buy the Cavs,
majority owner or something.
Like, if you're going to buy it Ballmer style, I think it'll be like a Billy.
Yeah,
for Cleveland.
Oh,
or maybe a little less. I don't know.
No, it'll be less because this shit is gonna tank. It's gonna plummet. There's no way. Like, Cleveland
you also got to think about Steve Ballmer when he bought the Clippers. That team was good, but it was still the Clippers. It wasn't the fucking Lakers. And he was still sold the.
They were trending up though. They were trending up though. Like, this Cavs team is trending down.
Yeah, exactly.
That's a good point. So
but even with that, he didn't buy. Did he buy the Clippers for over $1 billion?
He bought them for like 3-point-something billion.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
I thought there was another team that got sold for like less than $1 billion.
Milwaukee Bucks got sold for $560 million.
Oh, okay.
That was the last team before.
And Cleveland is worse than them.
Yeah, but I don't think
Milwaukee had a championship within the last like 30 years or whatever.
But that was also before the Clippers thing. Like, that was the league has exploded.
Yeah,
in terms of popularity and growth and like. But I think LeBron. I think if he's going to own a basketball team, it's going to be the Cavs. And that would be some interesting ass shit.
He should, yeah. And because that'll make his career even more like interesting after the fact.
I know, right? And like,
imagine he gets them to like championship level after he buys them.
Imagine Cleveland and Charlotte having a rivalry.
Oh. I was like, why Charlotte? Why does
fucking MJ and LeBron post career, because we never got to see it in the regular fucking basketball career. But I think despite the leaving Cleveland in a wreck when he left, I think he did right by them. I think when he went to LA, I think it wasn't like a shady fucked up move. I think he gave his heart to the city, and Cleveland wasn't nearly as pissed to see him go the second time.
Yeah, and the craziest part is I think it was more premeditated for him to leave Cleveland in this time around than last time around. But I think it's just you win them a championship and you fulfilled your promise.
It's gifts for everyone.
Yeah.